So Carolina Panthers legend and probably future Hall of Famer Greg Olsen did an interview back in January with The Athletic. I think he sat down at pretty much some kind of luncheon or charity event. And I read through the article, read some of his comments, and it's really cool to hear. He really dropped some truth bombs that I didn't want to believe it at the time, but it's ringing very, very true. Now, we know Greg Olsen has been phenomenal since he's retired and kind of moved to the booth. He was the lead analyst for Fox, and unfortunately, Tom Brady is coming now, so he'll kind of back up into the forefront. He was even rumored to try to put his hat in to be the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. But he always brings pretty realistic perspective, objective to say the least, and even when it comes to the Panthers. And I get a little pissed off because when he commentates the Panthers games, I would love for him to be a little bit more biased, show a little bit more emotion. However, he lives in Charlotte. He still cares about the franchise. He still thinks a lot about this team. But the comments that he made, it's really stirred something up in my spirit. So in this video, we're going to talk about those comments. But real quick, my name is Aaron Duncan. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below here for Unnecessary Blunt Sports Talk, recap and analysis of the Panthers. You're going to get your Panthers talking points 3 to 5 business days in advance. I'm on top of this stuff. So if you want to stay on top of that yourself, hit the subscribe button. But he was asked first about the 3 offseason moves he would make as the general manager. And of course, only like Greg Olsen does, he was very, very long-winded. I'll go through some of it and just break down some of the comments. Let's do it. So everyone gets really excited over a big-time #1 receiver. We've seen in the playoffs. Look at Green Bay. They have some young receivers that are crazy talented, but none of them are first-round picks. They didn't go out and sign some big-time free agent. They have a great system. They drafted really well. Look at the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown's an all-pro player. He wasn't a top 5 pick. He wasn't some high-priced guy. He's a guy they developed. He's a slot receiver. He's big and strong. He's got great intangibles. He's playing in a very friendly offense to skilled players and quarterbacks. I don't think you need to panic and go out and pay $25 million to whoever the top free agent receiver is just to check that box. I don't think they're one player away. It's going to be roster depth, great drafting, signing the right free agents. And then it's going to be about coaching and playing to the strengths of the guy you already have under contract. I think you saw with the Jerry Rivera do that on defense this year. They developed a lot of talent on defense, a lot of guys they weren't expected to play. And I will argue they played well above expectation. That's coaching. That's what the NFL is. You're not always going to inherit an amazing roster. You got to make the best of what you have, and I think that's what Dave's approach will be. So, of course, he did not answer the question. They asked him for 3 moves he would make as a GM. He just went around the way. But I thought what he said was very, very key because as a lot of these top receivers in the market are starting to get franchise tagged, clock is getting close to midnight. You know, the music is slowing down. Everybody's finding their dance partner to go home with. And the Panthers, the cupboard is looking bare for free agents. They were never going to be able to shop on Saks Fifth and get some of the top-notch receivers like Greg Olsen was mentioning because we aren't one player away. That's the truth. I mean, I would love to have Mike Evans, and that Dave Canellis connection was huge. I would love T. Higgins. I would love Calvin Ridley. But those guys may not be realistic for us as far as spending that money. Let's be real. The Panthers are trash right now. They're in some kind of rebuild, maybe. Nobody knows what direction it is. What free agents are going to come here? And would it be smart for the Panthers to put all their assets financially into a player like that just to help out Bryce Young when we have a bunch of other holes to fill? Probably not. But we also mentioned about Green Bay and how they keep taking swings. They signed guys like Jaden Reed last year. Dontavian Wicks was found in the 5th round. They got Tucker Kraft, a tight end, and Luke Musgrave. They really have doubled down on weapons over the years. And you can even go back to Christian Watson from the previous year. They've really done all they can to put as much talent and value talent around their young quarterback for them to all grow together. They're going to do it by committee. Some guys like to do running back by committee. They're doing wide receiver by committee, and Matt LaFleur has been a coach that's put these guys in position to succeed. Hell, even Dontavian Wicks, who ran a 4.62 coming out of the University of Virginia last year as a rookie, outproduced our 2nd-round pick, Jonathan Mingo. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but I'm just saying coaching matters. Putting guys in position to succeed matters, and getting the best out of it matters. Like you said with Ejiro, I don't think it's sustainable to do what we did last year defensively, but when you have those injuries that we went through and to still put up respectable numbers and remain competitive, that's what coaching is. You don't really try to put a square peg around hole. You take what you have on your roster and you put them in positions to succeed. We had some depth at secondary, but we got injured a lot. What do? we played a lot of shell deep coverage. Yes, we gave up a lot of run game because we had light boxes and only putting 7 guys in the box. Sometimes we only had 1 linebacker, and Frankie Louvu was the only linebacker on the field in the box. But we did that to protect ourselves from giving up the big play. We knew we didn't have the corners, so we played soft and we kept everything in front of them. It wasn't perfect because they would move the ball eventually. They would run the ball on us. They would get into the red zone and make things happen once the field got shorter. But we had enough people and playmakers that we thought that if we didn't give up the big play, make these guys try to drive the field on us, we could put a competitive defense together. And that's exactly what happened. That's assessing what you have on the field, regardless of who's hurt, who's not, what position you're missing. If you're missing another edge rusher, if you're missing a linebacker like Shaq who's hurt, putting the guys on the field in the best position to succeed no matter what your system is. So I think Greg Olsen is spot on. So maybe the Panthers will have to build through the draft. Like he said, Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't the top 5 guy. They have to go and double dip at wide receiver. This draft class is going to be loaded. What better time than to do it now? Like I said, the Packers, they were smart. They double dipped on tight end when last year was a legendary tight end class. As we saw a lot of young guys produce very, very early. They double dipped there and got 2 wide receivers. They're never satisfied with the amount of weapons they put with their young quarterback. But that's also the thing, because the Panthers really find themselves in a precarious position because they don't have a ton of talent, but they also don't have a ton of cap space. And this is really confusing, kind of like the point of like, where is the money? The Panthers don't have that much cap space, but they also don't have a bunch of talent. What went wrong? Continuously not hitting on draft picks. The way that you're able to stay competitive when you don't have cap space is you have to hit on your late picks. You got to get some 3rd rounders, maybe some day 2 or day 3 guys that can come in and contribute. I talk about the Packers with Dontavian Wicks. He's a 5th rounder and got almost 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. That may not be spectacular numbers, but he was a rookie 5th round pick. That's value, getting value and maximizing the talent. When is the last time we've had an undrafted free agent for this franchise become a perennial starter for us on the cheap? It was Andrew Norwell, maybe some 10 years ago. It's just been a while since we've had consistent guys that can show up on the draft and on rookie deals that are contributing. You have these rookie deals that are cheap. They can really help you contribute to the roster success without costing a bunch. What the Panthers do, they miss on these draft picks, try to make it up in free agency. Those free agents don't work because you have to offer them multi-year deals to try to get them to come to a bad team like the Panthers, and then you end up cutting them. Then there's dead money on the cap and you don't have money going forward. Prime example is Hayden Hurst. They brought in Hayden Hurst on the 3-year deal. They cut him after the first year. Now he has dead money on the books for the next 2 years and he's not going to be helping us, and we still need tight end help. These are guys that we brought in for a year because we missed on Ian Thomas. We tried to go with Tommy Tremble. He hasn't really developed yet and we really haven't given him opportunities. So we tried to go the free agent route to find the answer. Hayden Hurst wasn't that answer, and now he's on the hook for that, and now we still need tight ends that we're probably going to have to draft or sign in free agency all over again, and the cycle continues. If you don't hit on draft picks that are on cheap rookie deals, you're not going to be able to be successful, and the bottom is eventually going to fall out. And I think after 3 consecutive years of bad drafts, of not having guys hang around, it's really catching up to the Panthers at this point because they don't have a 1st-round pick and they don't have a lot of cap space. And I know people complain about us not having that 1st-round draft pick, but in my head, it doesn't matter, because if we don't hit after day 1 of the draft anyway, we're not going to be good. If we don't hit on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, 6th round picks anyway, we were never going to be good regardless. So I'm not really losing a ton of sleep over not having a 1st. It would be nice to have one, hell yeah, but I'm not going to lose sleep because if we were going to be good anyway, we got to start hitting on day 2 and 3 picks. That's just the bottom line. No matter who's the general manager, that is the case for building a roster. I think far too long we've grown accustomed to our team and whoever the general manager is not hitting on picks after the 1st, so we kind of just chalk it up to business as usual. That's not how it works. Competent teams and competent franchises can find gems after day 1 of the draft. That's how the Rams went through their rebuild after their Super Bowl. Everybody swore up and down they were going to be doom and gloom, but they hit on draft picks and it brought them out of salary cap hell. They reloaded with some younger talent, and a lot of the talent that came after the 1st round, whether it's Byron Young, Puka Nacua, or Kobe Turner, they continue to identify guys after day 1 that come in that are hungry. They put them in the system and they coach them up and get the most out of it. The Panthers don't have stability with their coaching, so you kind of got guys that are overlapped in different systems. You got guys that were drafted by previous regimes that are trying to get the pieces picked up by new coaches, and it gets that square peg round hole. We need to get some consistency, so unfortunately, they're going to churn this roster as we've already seen. They're going to try to get players that they want and in their own vision and try to get on the same page. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think reality is starting to set in for me that this thing is going to be ugly, man. It's not going to be fun. As bad as this division is, and as much as I would love to compete, it's going to be ugly. And I think they may not tell us it's going to be a rebuild, but it's probably going to be a rebuild, and an ugly rebuild for the Carolina Panthers. It's going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately. Just buckle up, y'all. Buckle up. Real quick, I want to go on some other comments that he talked about right at the end of the video, and it was about Bryce Young. He was asked about what he thought about Bryce Young's rookie year, and I want to just go over this to really provide some unbiased perspective from Greg Olsen. You're not hearing it from me. This is me reading Greg Olsen's perspective. They said Bryce Young struggled this season and clearly didn't have enough playmakers or protection with the injuries. But should the #1 pick have the ability to elevate and lift up an offense and overcome other deficiencies? Greg said, we all have these high hopes for first overall picks and they're going to carry the team, but there's a learning curve. Everybody wants to compare Bryce to Cam and the impact Cam had as a rookie. People have to realize that style of play coming out of college between Cam and Bryce was wildly different. Mahomes didn't play as a rookie. Jordan Love didn't play as a rookie. So there's always this learning process. But the advantage Cam had is he was just so incredibly talented and physical. When all hell broke loose, he might not have been exactly on time with his footwork, but when it was time to let the ball rip, he could rip it to Steve Smith, or he could rip it to Jeremy Shockey, or he could just take off and be 260 pounds and just run everybody over. I think Bryce has always been a super cerebral quarterback. Everybody talks about his mentality, his approach, his maturity. Those are incredibly valuable and essential for any quarterback in the NFL, but it's going to take a little while for that to really impact. You're not going to outsmart the NFL. He wasn't 6'5", 250 pounds when all hell broke loose, just put the ball in the run. We'll figure it out later. That's not his game. His footwork needs to be right. His timing needs to be right. The pocket needs to be right. That's just the style that he's played since he was in high school. And he's been one of the best quarterbacks in high school and college and so on and so forth. He's going to need guys around him. He's going to need an offensive line. He's going to need a system that plays to his strengths. I think that was a little bit of a disconnect. He's going to need some things to go his way. But to have just an all-out indictment to say his rookie year is what he's going to be the rest of his career, I don't think it's fair. The coaching situation with what we're trying to ask him to do schematically, the personnel around him, then losing your coach halfway through the year, it was about as bad a situation for a rookie quarterback to work within. Let's take a deep breath and see what this next year or two had before we have a clear picture. So Greg Olsen really gave a truth bomb to a lot of the people in this fan base that are really hard on Bryce Young. We understand he was the first overall draft pick, but the standards that some people have on him just seem to be too high. I know we love Cam, but comparing him to Cam is just unfair. Like Greg said, Cam, when all hell broke loose, he could run for his life and make things happen. He ran for 14 touchdowns his rookie year. That lets you know, which was a career high for him. So that lets you know how much he relied and was able to rely on his legs as a crutch. That's not Bryce's game. And we talked about Bryce being the brain and being smart and processing. And so everybody's like, why is he not reading defenses? Why is he throwing interceptions if his brain is so smart? Well, like Greg said, that's going to help you down the line. But if you're a rookie, you don't know what you don't know. You're not going to know the NFL if you've never seen the NFL. Once you see it a couple times, then yeah, you can process it faster, make things happen and learn after that. But you were never going to come out off the fly and just master the NFL cerebrally and just dominate. Cam was able to out athletic people, so he was better in that aspect. But you're not going to outsmart anybody in the NFL as a rookie. That's just not reality. So I think that people that are just being so hard on about Bryce Young because of his struggles that he had from a mental standpoint in terms of just being a rookie and him not elevating everybody around him like they thought he should have, you got to kind of pump the brakes, man. Because like Greg said, one of the worst situations that you ever have, Frank Wright was coaching some kind of dinosaur offense. We had too many cooks in the kitchen, obviously. He got sacked 62 times. Offensive line was bad. It was just bad all over, and we're just a bad football team offensively. Just some of the worst play ever. It's going to take another year or two before we really figure out what Bryce Young is. And what I talked about in this first part of this video, as they build, they're going to bring in young receivers. So there's going to be a young learning curve for those young receivers as well. So it may take a year or two for those young receivers to come on as well. So as Bryce and the receivers grow together, it's going to take time. There's still going to be 3 years left at least on Bryce Young's rookie contract. So there's plenty of time to figure out what he is and what he's going to be, and whether you guys like it or not, if you may hate it, Bryce is our quarterback for the future. We're very well invested in him. We brought in Dave Canales to really get the best out of him, and everything they do offensively is going to be to facilitate his success. So buckle up for this ride, man. The moral of the story is patience, patience, patience. And I talk about this team on YouTube, but I want to see them do well right now. We've been preaching patience for years. But believe you me, I'm tired of being patient. I see plenty of teams turn around in the NFL. The Colts did it from having a top 5 pick. The Texans did it from having a top 5 pick. Why can't it be us? But we have to build this thing in some way. Panthers, hopefully they got it right with Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, and they can get headed in that same direction. You guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about what Greg said about, one, about just the process of this taking a little bit longer than we may think or hope, and just how to build this team. And two, what do you think about his comments and perspective of Bryce Young? If you're a Bryce Young hater, are you going to listen to a Panthers legend that really just drops some truth and facts, or you not trying to hear that? Let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk about it. But without further ado, my name is Aaron Duncan signing off with the Necessary Blunt Sports Talk. I'll see you next time. Peace.